Godo was a weak loser that instantly dried up girls with his lack of aura. Everything changed after he destroyed a god for powers and started clapping everything in his skirt. The story starts somewhere in the city of Sardinia. Godo's grandfather had sent him to deliver a stone tablet to one of his exes, and he had already spent most of the day struggling with the directions. He was taking a look at the tablet when a local hottie threatened him with a knife. Erica said she was a part of the Copper Black Cross and told him to hand over the tablet. He was trying to explain himself when she jumped behind him for dramatic effect. But then they heard a loud noise that changed the entire atmosphere. The next moment, a titan-sized boar rose up from the ocean, and she called it a chaotic god. Erica told him to get to safety and signaled Ariana as she took off running. After hopping on the car, Ariana drove towards the chaotic god, but a yacht it had tossed almost ended her, so Erica told her to get to safety and activated magic steps to get to a rooftop. She then said a prayer to summon an iron lion that opened its mouth for her to grab a sword right out of its guts. With the sword's magic, she started attacking, hoping to cut through its divine powers. At the time, Godo was running and dropped the tablet as he tripped over a rock. After a glowing boy caught it, Godo paid no attention to the boy being the Purple Lantern and asked for his name. He claimed to be a god seeking worthy opponents and asked Godo about the tablet. After Godo told him about his grandfather's request, the midget god gave him the tablet, and at that moment, a shining horse almost blinded him before vanishing with the boy. Erica was still fighting the god by then, but it was too strong and tossed her away. Luckily, Godo was there to catch her, but then suddenly, the god vanished into a tornado. Moments later, they were at a train station, and she told him about the existence of mythical gods that had powers specific to their nature. While the rest of the world could only see their appearance as natural disasters, magical people like her could see them for what they really were. After he told her the tablet belonged to a lady named Zola, she told him Zola was a great mage known as the Witch of Sardinia. After apologizing for trying to unalive him, Erica got up, tired of waiting for a train, and told him to carry her bags. Later on, Ariana drove them to Zola's mansion, and although the car was still in one piece, Godo had experienced multiple heart attacks from the ride. Just then, the talking cat told them to state their business, so Erica told her about the tablet. The next moment, they were standing in front of Zola, and her plot was affecting Godo's ability to function properly. He was confused about how his grandfather's old friend was still young, so she told him it was magic before giving him a quick show. After telling them the tablet was the grimoire of Prometheus, she gave it back and told him to keep it. Erica argued that it was stupid to give such power to a living stickman, and he also agreed, but she refused to take it back, and Erica stormed out. Later on, Erica was losing touch with reality after having one too many, and he tried calling Ariana, but she was even more drunk. He took her to the room shortly after and was staring at her melons when she drunkenly asked for help out of her dress. Seeing her plot on the bed was too much for him to handle, so he tried to leave, but the door was locked from the outside by Zola's cat. By morning, Erica woke him up with a jaw-breaking punch before giving him a second to explain what happened. She was demonstrating what she planned to do to his sausage when they heard another bang as the weather immediately changed. After running out and seeing another titan-sized god, she called out to him and asked if he was Belkart, the old god of the ocean. He was impressed that she knew his name and was trying to give her attention when he got struck by lightning and saw another god in the sky. As he turned to leave, Erica switched outfits and told Godo she had to stop the gods from destroying the city with their battle. Moments later, he was in the car with the tablet, remembering what Zola said about its ability to steal a god's power. Once they got close to Belkart, they saw the boy from before, who Godo said was Verethragna, the Persian god of light. The previous night, Zola told him about 10 incarnations, including the shining stallion from before, which all belonged to Verethragna. He had allegedly given Godo back the tablet with the stallion to make things interesting. After he absorbed 2 more incarnations, Belkart tried to knock him out of the sky, but Erica stopped them. She begged them to stop the fight as it could endanger the people of the island, and Verethragna responded by trying to smoke her with lightning bolts. After saving Erica, Godo ran across the field with her, remembering something Zola told him about the gods. He then got to the edge and showed Belkart the tablet containing Verethragna's stallion incarnation before offering him a partnership. Amused by his almost psychotic level of confidence, Belkart agreed and shielded them from Verethragna's attack. The next moment, Verethragna attacked them with a golden sword that slowly penetrated the barrier. Erica identified it as the legendary sword that could cut through divinity, and turned gods into mortals. She tried getting him to run, but he said he wanted to use the tablet, so she gave him a good luck kiss. Once Verethragna shattered the barrier, Godu unleashed the stallion on him until the magic release blasted him away. Verethragna only got pissed, but then Godu got back up and revealed that he had actually used the tablet's ability to steal the sword. Immediately overcome by his aura, Erica locked lips with him, and his magic was released. Countless golden swords appeared while they were kissing, and one of them went through Verethragna and set him on fire. A week later, Godu had a dream where a girl named Pandora told him he had been reborn as a godslayer, known as a Campione, after his regular life was taken during the fight with Verethragna. After waking up, he saw that he had overslept and rushed to get ready. He was checking himself out in the mirror when he saw Erica in his bed with her plot barely covered by the sheets. Moments later, Shizuka was interrogating him on their new house guest. He said he had no idea that Erica followed him back to Japan, but then she started saying that both of them were soulmates. He started getting frustrated as he knew he didn't have enough wrist to make her fall in love overnight. But then he noticed her melons about to pop out and turned away while she tried using them against him. At school later on, one of his classmates checked up on him and started talking about a new student from Italy that had the greatest face card known to man. Godu was barely paying attention and started remembering what happened after the fight with Verethragna. Eric had explained that the kiss was what unlocked the powers he used to activate the sword. Verethragna then told him to train for their next fight before he crumbled. He was still thinking about his new powers when he suddenly remembered what his classmates said about an Italian exchange student. Just then, the teacher brought Erica in, and she introduced herself to the rest of the class. She then told them Godu was her one true love and gave him a kiss on the cheek before using mind control magic to get the seat next to him. He was trying to get her to chill when his beta-simp classmates pulled him aside for an interrogation and beatdown. When Erica started making things worse by explaining their cuddling routine, he grabbed her arm and ran out before seeing that the person he pulled out was a girl named Yuri. At the time, the girl named Liliana was kneeling before a Campione named Voban. As one of his incarnations showed up, Voban told her to get a divine instrument ahead of the prophecy of the starless night. After school, Godu walked Yuri home and apologized for trying to pull her arm off. She suddenly started begging him to spare her life while calling him a king. The next moment, Amaterasu showed up and introduced himself while also referring to Godu as the king. Shortly after, they were at a temple, and Amaterasu explained that he was part of a government agency tasked with investigating magical affairs. Yuri then came out and apologized for touching him despite knowing he was the 7th Campione, and he told them to stop treating him like royalty. While Yuri started getting flustered from his aura, Amaterasu told him something about Erica. When he got home later on, Shizuka welcomed him with a spoon to the noggin and told him rumors were spreading at school after he grabbed Yuri. When she mentioned Erica, he suddenly had a mood swing and went to his room. After getting in bed, he remembered Amakasu's demonstration of Erica's beauty, which he then claimed she was using to deceive him into joining the Copper-Black Cross. The moment he turned on his side, he saw her beside him, and she immediately started melting his brain with her charms. After getting up, he told her to stop pretending to like him and simply tell him what she wanted. She then responded by asking him to spend a day with her so she could show him her true feelings. The next day, he was with Ariana trying to understand why Erica's idea of a hangout was to travel back to Italy. After she left him to go handle business, the atmosphere suddenly changed and he saw a fun-sized girl standing a couple of feet from him. The moment he asked if she was a god, she moved faster than the speed of light while saying something about looking for a snake. She challenged him to fight, but he turned down the offer, so she called him a fraud and used her owls to vanish. Just then, Erica showed up and introduced him to Italy's representatives from the Council of Magic, who she said were there to test his strength. She then summoned the Iron Lion and pulled out her sword before attacking him and almost opening up his insides. After telling him to get serious, she let out the Iron Lion and sent it against him. Using the bull from Verethragna's incarnations, he grabbed the lion by its teeth and smashed it into the wall. The Lion of Light then took over, and he used the speed of the raptor to dodge until he got hit by one of its attacks. Erica then told him he needed to do better, and used her magic chants to cover the area in dark energy before letting out a flaming tornado. Godu then told her she had fallen for his trap and summoned the Great Boar. As it charged in, she managed to dodge it, so it ran through the Colosseum behind her. After she got back down, he pounced on her and asked if she had any tricks left, so she admitted defeat. Seeing his performance, the council reps discussed among themselves and decided to entrust the divine instrument into his care as they applauded him. Erica then asked for a celebratory kiss, and he jumped off her. When she tried again, he demanded to know the real reason behind her sudden addiction to him, and she boldly said it was purely out of her love for him. His guard immediately went down as he stared deep into her soul, and while she was showing him a magical item, Liliana was watching from a corner. The next day, Yuri broke her comb while getting ready for school, and moments later, she told Amaterasu about it. On way to school, he told her about a catastrophe about to happen and said Godu was involved. She didn't believe he could be a part of anything bad, so Amaterasu told her to try asking him about it. She then saw Godu also getting to school with Erica clinging to him while talking about hiding a certain truth. Meanwhile, at the top of the Tokyo Skytree, the midget goddess from Italy started saying a prayer she planned to use in finding a divine ancient snake. After finding letters from Simps in her locker, Erica graced her hallway fans with a very demure catwalk before waving them goodbye and heading to her seat. When Godu asked for the secret to her fame, she told him to stick to being her arm candy. He then heard the other students talking about him draining her aura, so she told him to only pay attention to what she had to say. Moments later, it just stepped out to get some air when he met Yuri, who then asked to meet up later. Later that day, he got to the roof and apologized for being late, but then she greeted him as a king again, and he had to explain how he didn't like it. She then told him about what Amaterasu said and asked if he was in possession of a divine instrument capable of ending the world. After explaining that he didn't even know what a divine instrument was, she felt better and told him it was a stone artifact with a snake on it. The next moment, he dropped it in her palm and told her Erica had given it to him in Rome. He was still trying to explain himself when she blew up in his face and told him to start acting like the king he was by being more careful with the things he brought to civilization. At her temple later on, she told him of a prophecy that spelled disaster for civilization if a certain god regained its true form. The prophecy came from Princess Alice, who had already ascended to the heavens. After explaining that the snake was a manifestation of the divine power of the Gorgon that was destined to transform an ancient goddess into her final form, he suggested destroying it. She was telling him that even sealing it away was almost impossible when Erica showed up and told her to get her own man. Yuri then demanded to know why she let him bring the instrument to Japan instead of handling it back in Rome, and she said it was all up to Godo, as only a Campione could stand against the goddess. She then told Yuri to use her spirit vision to try finding something connected to the Gorgon stone. Using a prayer, she activated her ability and ended up making spiritual eye contact with the midget goddess before dropping the stone. Moments later, Erica and Godu were racing to get to the goddess and used her magic steps to get to a roof before using a compass to detect the goddess's magic. After an owl flew into them, Athena appeared before them and challenged Godu again. He turned her down, so she asked for the Gorgon stone and told him they had to fight for it. Erica tried to talk to her and immediately activated a magic shield as Athena tried to permanently shut her up. After sensing Godu's power, she considered settling things peacefully, and he liked the idea, but then she changed her mind, saying she didn't want to miss a good fight before sealing Erica in a magic sphere. Using her speed, she messed with Godu before grabbing him by the shoulder and telling him to consider changing his line of work. She suddenly started kissing him, and he tried to pull away, but she was too strong and poured her mouth juices down his throat until he got weak. After letting him go, she commended him for fighting the effects, but they eventually got to him, and he dropped. Erica then broke free from the sphere and said a prayer that transformed her sword into a spear. Athena told her to rethink attacking her, and Erica swore to protect Godu until her last breath. While Liliana was on a bridge watching them with spirit vision, Erica charged in and burned over 1,000 calories as she kept trying to hit Athena, who was just too fast. Using her magic step, she boosted her speed for one attack, and although Athena dodged it, she got a tiny slice in. After Athena easily healed up, she blew up Erica and realized that it was a shadow clone before seeing Erica throwing the spear at her head. She used telekinesis to shatter it and thought Erica was done, but then the shattered pieces became a cage that distracted her long enough for Erica to escape with Godo. Yuri was running to seal the stone when Liliana stopped her and told her to hand it over. She knew Liliana and told her about her plan to seal it, but then Liliana decided to take it from her. Just then, Amaterasu tried to run her over and sealed her in place before driving off with Yuri. Godu woke up on Erica's thighs much later on a public bench. She tried bringing him back fully with her lips, so he reminded her that an ancient world-ending goddess was flying around the city looking for Yuri. After she told him the only way to defeat Athena was with the golden sword, he got up and reminded her that they needed to have all the information about a god for the sword to work on them. With the information on Athena being too much for her to teach him with words, she told him of another way and used the power of her lips to teach him all he needed to know. After several minutes of getting a history lesson through magical kissing, he stopped her after noticing the clouds turning dark as Athena scored the city tracking the Gorgon stone. In seconds, Japan was plunged into a wave of darkness that also affected electronics. After turning down the weather update, Amakasu looked out and reminded Yuri of the prophecy of the starless night. He then suggested ditching the car to avoid keeping the stone in one place. At the time, Athena was chanting to keep the darkness spreading before summoning more owls to search for the stone. To avoid traffic, Ariana drove along the walkway, and moments later, some of Athena's owls started following them. Erica told him they were servants of the god of death, which confused him since Athena was supposedly the goddess of wisdom. She then offered to continue their kiss class. He noticed that Ariana was paying more attention to them than the road, so he begged her to stop acting like they had spare lives stashed away. Before Erica could start, they got a call from Yuri, who wanted to tell him she was still struggling with the seal. After telling her to call his name, that she ended up in trouble with Athena, she hung up and gave the phone back to Amakasu, who immediately left to find someone to help with the seal. Shortly after, Ariana had destroyed the car's engine, so Erica and Godu ran off. While they were running, Erica gave him permission to add Yuri to their harem, but told him she would always be his #1 bitch. The next moment, they saw a thunderbolt and knew that Athena had found Yuri. She demanded the stone, but Yuri refused to hand it over and activated the shield. With a finger twitch, Athena slowly cracked the shield until it blew up and pushed Yuri into Liliana's arms. She was trying to convince her to give the stone up when she saw Athena about to blast them and stepped in to block it. The magic blast ended up being too much for her and pushed them both back. After getting back up, Yuri tried to get the stone, but Athena beat her to it and immediately started activating it. Using an ancient chant, she used the stone to regain the powers she once had until she entered her true form. Remembering what Godau told her over the phone, she told Athena he was coming to take her down. As she called out his name, she began to lose consciousness and fell back into his arms as he appeared. Erica also showed up and tried to talk to Liliana, but she didn't plan on getting smacked around again and left. Athena didn't expect Godau to survive her kiss of death, so she complimented his strength and promised to make sure he couldn't survive the next one. Yuri suddenly started coughing from the effects of Athena's poisonous magic, so Godau pulled out the golden sword and used it to heal her. He then gave Athena a final chance to avoid combat, but she was eager to test out her powers and told him to brace himself before blasting. After blocking it, he told the girls to get out of the way so he could manhandle Athena. But then Erica decided to finish giving him the history lesson with her lips. After activating a magic space littered with the golden swords, she also activated her magic and started attacking. While the girls watched with spirit vision, he dodged until her attacks became too much to handle, so he ran back. She then summoned her snakes to finish him off, but then he said the run was intentional to get her to summon them. While reminding her of the flaws she had according to what he learned from Erica, he used the swords to turn the snakes into shattering rocks. Tired of hearing him yap about her, Athena tried shutting him up with an arrow of death, but he easily destroyed it and kept telling her about her failure of an existence while attacking her. He stepped back and tried attacking her with all the blades, but her divinity barrier stopped them. After using verbal abuse to soften her defenses, he charged in and used the sword to shatter it. Erica knew he had broken past the barrier, but she couldn't see the space anymore, which meant the sword's magic had been used up, so she left Yuri to handle the rest. By then, Athena had figured out that he was using Verethragna's magic and started attacking him. After cutting into his arm and pushing him back, he ditched the sword and decided to use his trump card. Using a prayer, he brought out the sun and summoned the flaming stallion. Athena blocked its fiery blast with a shield, but then Godau got Erica's spear and sent it flying through her guts. She then dropped the shield, which left her open to an explosion from the stallion. The next moment, the stone was back to normal, while she had been returned to her fun-sized form, and Godau took a second to catch his breath. Athena got back up and told him to finish her off, but he decided to let her go, and she promised to remember his name before vanishing into the night. After Erica called him stupid for not finishing her off and taking her powers, Yuri caught up to them and pointed out the crater he had created. The next day, he was having breakfast with Shizuka when Erika showed up again and told him she had brought Yuri along with her. Yuri then told him she also liked receiving attention and ended up almost splitting him in half while trying to pull him away from Erika. Days later, Goto was at Erika's place trying to get her to wake up. When she did, he protected his eyes from the hypnosis of her plot and told her to cover them up. She then asked for his help, and he started learning how lingerie worked. Using spirit vision, Yuri watched Liliana, taking orders from Voban regarding a certain ritual until his plot-drying face snapped her out of it. Moments later, she was packing her lunch when Ikari snagged a bite and told her it was perfect for Goto. She had apparently heard about him from Amaterasu and asked if her charms had started working on him. After giving her a few cultured suggestions that were too much for her brain to handle, Ikari brought out a bigger box and repacked the lunch so she could have enough to eat with Goto. On her way to class later on, she was thinking about him and the possibilities of being his new girl until she got to class and saw Erika all over him again. As usual, she told the whole class what happened that morning, and he tried to defend himself but only made it sound a lot creepier than was necessary. After scaring him with her psycho-death stare, Yuri scolded him and told Erika to act like the respected knight she was. Erika then told her to stop interfering with her love session, and they had an aura-infused stare down to assert dominance. Much later, Erika was dominating the baseball game, and while their classmates were cheering her on, Yuri went to ask Goto if she was playing with magic. After explaining that Erika liked to play fair despite having a magical edge, Yuri told him she was proud to be a couch potato. Erika then showed up, saying she wanted to pitch fastballs and needed him to catch them, as he used to be a catcher, but he refused. Goto told them he was once the star player in middle school, but a shoulder injury stopped him from becoming the next Jackie Robinson. His new powers had already healed the injury, but he didn't want to use them since he considered it to be cheating. Erika then decided to challenge Yuri to a game to decide which of them deserved him, and she accepted. On the field moments later, Goto was in a catcher's gear after forgetting his self-righteous speech, and Yuri's spirit vision suddenly gave her a prediction of Erika's throw. After telling Goto what she saw, he told her to focus on her swing and got into position. As Erika made the first throw, she remembered Goto's instructions and swung the bat, but she was about as fast. After missing the second one, Goto called a timeout and saw that her lungs were about to explode, so he told her to focus on timing the swing instead. As Erika made the final throw, she managed to time it correctly and hit something, but it turned out to be Goto's helmet, while the baseball had practically replaced the balls he came with. While she was trying to bring him back from the other side, specialists were analyzing the crater from his fight with Athena, and Liliana was watching them. Just then, Amaterasu showed up and explained his surprise at seeing a Grand Knight of the Bronze Black Cross, but she wasn't looking to chat and immediately left. Back at school, it was time for lunch, so Erika and Goto brought out their boxes and thought Yuri had a spirit stomach when she brought out the box Ikari packed. She told them it was for the three of them, and Erika wasted no time grabbing an egg roll. After Goto complimented her cooking, Erika said she was doing too much for his attention, and she tried to deny it, claiming she was just looking out for him. Erika then asked about the phone she used during the Athena incident, and she said it belonged to Amaterasu, so Erika told Goto to help her get one after school. After demonstrating how a phone worked so her backwater brain cells could understand it, she suggested sending Goto her plot pics, and Yuri freaked out before running off. Erika then told Goto to risk her and get her to join his harem so they could use her spirit vision. After school, they went to the phone store and were immediately attended to. But then he noticed that she was uncomfortable and told the sales rep to give them space. He then showed her his phone, and she decided to get one similar to it, but as they were talking, she sensed someone watching them. When they couldn't see anyone, she blamed it on her overactive imagination, but it was actually Liliana watching them from a rooftop. That evening, he exchanged details with her and almost went nuts while teaching her how to make a phone call. After getting home, Goto heard the house phone ringing and answered, but he immediately recognized the voice and hung up. Just then, his phone started ringing, so he answered and told Doni to stop calling him and claiming they were besties. Doni was fishing and wanted to check on him after recovering from their fight in Italy and told him about Voban. He wanted Goto to pick a fight with the feared Campione, as he was currently in Japan, but Goto wasn't ready for another near-death experience and hung up to think. Erika was in the bath at the time when Liliana came in after taking out the temple guards and knocked her out while Goto was calling her. She woke up moments later and saw Voban, who reminded her of a certain ritual she risked her life for and said she had become his possession. Back at the temple, Amaterasu explained what happened to Godo and Erika and told them Voban had likely taken her to finish what he started 4 years ago. Godo promised to bring her back, but Erika told him to consider the dangers. He then told her about the call with Doni and his decision to use the kidnapping as an opportunity to find Voban. She then asked to go with him, so they asked Anakasu for Voban's hideout. At the time, Yuri was by a window, thinking about Voban's demand for her to summon a heretic god to Japan. She had refused, knowing it would bring danger to Japan, and was ready to lose her life over it. He told her death would only make things easier and summoned his undead servants that he had trapped after unaliving them. Seeing them, she used her spirit vision to analyze his powers and saw that he had stolen the powers of Osiris, the Egyptian god of death. After getting to the hideout, Erika told Godo to expect clashing with Liliana, who was on the same level with her as a knight. Inside, they immediately got attacked by Voban's undead servants, while one of them gave him a spirit globe to watch. They easily cut through the undead servants and ran up to meet a witch who summoned a giant golem. Erika landed a hit, but it immediately healed up, so Godo started charging up to use his powers. She stopped him, claiming to know an easy way to defeat it. After dodging a punch, she ran up its arm and changed its name to Meth, which immediately made it crumble. At the time, Liliana gave Yuri a cup of tea as an apology for kidnapping her, before saying she had sensed Godo's entrance. She claimed he was as creepy as Voban, but Yuri had a different opinion. She refused to accept Godo being anything but good, so Liliana told her to get ready for the ritual and left. By then, Godo and Erika were trying to fight an archer who used the darkness to his advantage. Using her powers, she exposed his location and summoned the Iron Lion, which then ripped the archer to shreds. Godo started feeling left out of the action, so she told him to save his energy for Voban, who she said was the most brutal of all the Campions. After dealing with a flame-shooting wizard, they got to Voban's chambers, where he was waiting with his wolves. He immediately demanded respect from Godo and made it clear that he was beyond anything the newbie had ever dealt with. After Godo told him to return Yuri, Voban started yapping about his accomplishments, so Godo interrupted him to get back to the main agenda. Voban then told him Yuri was a valuable asset that he had rights to and asked if he had brought anything of equal value to give him as a replacement for her. Erika then held him back and reminded him of the call he had with his bestie Doni. Voban became intrigued by her claim of Godo being friends with Doni and asked her to explain. She formally introduced herself and told him about a duel between Doni and Godo that ended in a draw. They exchanged information since then, and Doni had allegedly called Godo to make him promise to send Voban to a retirement home or heaven. Godo immediately tried to deny her exaggerated version of the call, but Voban had already heard enough and asked if he was the one that manhandled Athena. After he told him about how he gave Athena permission to keep existing, Voban told him Athena had been on his radar for years. He had also summoned another god 4 years ago, with help from Yuri, but then Doni beat him to the chase. Instead of turning Godo into a pretzel, Voban decided to make him a proposal and brought out Yuri. Moments later, they were all in the car after Voban gave them a 30-minute head start with a challenge to evade him until sunrise. Godo was trying to find a way to get information on the origins of Voban's power when Yuri told them to leave her behind. She said they would all be fine, as Voban only wanted her help with the ritual. But then Erika reminded her of the ritual from 4 years ago, where she sacrificed 30 people and left them worse than psychiatric patients. Although Erika and Liliana survived, the chances of her making it out again were slim, so Godo refused to let her go back. After making it out of the tunnel, their head start ran out, and several packs of wolves immediately caught up to them. Ariana floored the gas pedal, and Yuri started talking about heading back again, so Godo gave her phone back to her and promised to make sure Voban was defeated. Erika was telling Yuri not to get too excited about experiencing Godo's charm when the wolves started catching up again. At a certain point, they all ditched the car, and Erika told Ariana to get back safely before they all ran into an evacuated facility. Moments later, they got surrounded by Voban's wolves, and Godo started charging up, but then Erika stopped him again and said a prayer. They duplicated her sword before cutting down all the packs in one fell swoop. Just then, Voban made a dramatic entrance that was starting to give Godo the ick and asked if he was ready for their battle. Voban summoned an army of undead servants and said they were the strongest knights he had defeated. This time, Erika let Godo do his thing, so began summoning the flaming stallion, which came as a surprise to Voban. The next moment, Voban transformed into a werewolf and swallowed the stallion and its flames before asking if Godau had really defeated Athena or just got lucky. He decided to let his undead knights keep them busy, and as Erica was fighting them off, Godau's brain went into overdrive as he struggled to figure out his next move. After Yuri snapped him out of it, he told Erica to regroup at a different location and said a prayer to activate his speed, which he used to take Yuri to safety. He was on a helipad by then and had just taken out the last undead knight when Liliana showed up and swore to defeat her. Shortly after, Godau also made it to a safe building with Yuri, but then his heart started trying to beat out of his chest. Yuri tried to heal him with her magic, but it had no effect, and he told her it needed to be injected into him. Realizing that the injection was the constant kisses Erica gave him, she let him sit and started massaging his chest just to get out of tasting his onion breath. Back on the helipad, the girls were switching from physical to verbal combat until Liliana decided to take things up a notch with an aerial assault that lit up the building. Tired of Yuri's chest rubs, Godau started asking about Voban's power, hoping she would kiss the information into his brain, but she apparently didn't know anything about it. Just then, her spirit vision activated, and he was trying to get her to explain it. But then, Amakasu showed up and told them Erica was in trouble. She was trying to escape Liliana, but being unable to fly made things tricky. She then asked Liliana if she had chosen to become Voban's and Liliana told Erica that it was her decision to clap Godau that made her grandfather force her into serving Voban. She was about to resume her attacks when she heard Yuri telling her to stop being Voban's slave. After suggesting that she join Godau's harem, Liliana was trying to reject the offer when a billboard flew straight for Yuri. After saving her, Liliana refused to switch sides and went to attack Erica. But at the moment, Erica mentioned the opening phrase of her diary, which made her too stunned to move. As Erica started explaining the Magnum sausage fantasies she wrote, Liliana felt her aura points vanishing and panicked. She demanded to know how Erica had acquired such information, but then Erica threatened to leak everything if she didn't agree to become best friends. With her reputation at stake, Liliana reluctantly lowered her sword, and Godau told Yuri to explain what she saw with her spirit vision so they could discuss it. Moments later, Voban was howling with his wolves, excited for the hunt, when Godau showed up with the girls. After Liliana officially resigned from being his clap toy, Voban called Godau weak for relying on friends, and Godau clapped back by telling him to quit playing Teen Wolf. Voban charged up and transformed again, but this time, Godau was ready and kissed Erica to summon the gold sword. After recreating the divine space, the swords began to cover the entire area and took several pounds of meat from Voban. He shot out more wolves to counter the attack, but they were no match for the countless swords flying around. He then decided to charge straight for Godau and ended up caught in a sword tornado. The next moment, Voban commended his efforts before healing up his face and summoning more undead magical knights to attack him. The girls defended him and decided to hold out until sunrise, but Voban had a different plan and sent the strongest of the knights to finish them off. Yuri was struggling with being useless when she suddenly had another vision and told Godau to transform his sword. He tried, but it became unstable, and Voban told him he lacked the experience needed to pull it off. Yuri started feeling bad again, but then Erica told her that Godau simply didn't know enough about Osiris to complete the transformation. Instantly understanding the assignment, Yuri locked her modesty away and ran to give him a kiss. He pulled back to make sure she wanted it, and her face said it all. So they continued until the sword's transformation was completed, and another space was created with the new form of the swords littered around. With the kiss-induced history lesson, he told Voban the origins of his power, and used the swords to cut down all the undead knights before returning the space to normal. Yuri felt relieved, but Godau still sensed danger and suddenly got slapped into a concrete wall. Voban complimented his skill level before summoning weather deities and using their combined lightning abilities to attack him. Godau dodged but barely escaped, becoming instant ashes, and the girls tried to help, but Voban used the lightning to keep them out of it. He channeled all his energy into a blast that knocked the golden sword out of Godau's hand, but as he was powering up for another, Godau started hearing voices and summoned the goat incarnation. Before he could finish, Voban struck him, but when the dust settled, he attacked with his own lightning blast, and Voban managed to deflect it. With the excess magic used training him, Godau took a knee, and the girls stood by his side to transfer their energy to him. With it, he managed to hold a barrier against Voban, but then he sensed more power coming in and saw the undead servants transferring their magic while begging to be freed. With all of their powers combined, he canceled the shield and gathered the clouds before bringing down a Thor-level lightning blast that pushed Voban down until it exploded into the ground. Somehow, Voban climbed out of the crater still in one piece and asked for another round. Godot accepted, but then Yuri stopped them and was trying to give them a speech when the sun started to rise. Voban finally decided to admit defeat and swore to take Godot down one day before leaving. After Yuri collapsed into his arms, Liliana told him the power exchange had reduced their life force, but Yuri said she would be okay. Erica suddenly fell, so he ran over to check on her, but she was just trying to get him close enough to assault his face. Liliana couldn't stand to watch their impurity, but Yuri wanted to have another go with him. Weeks later, the melons and rice cakes, jumping around distracted Godot from the volleyball that destroyed the side of his face. Erica went over to check on him, and Yuri scolded her for being too aggressive. Tired of their arguing, Zola pulled him into her milk jugs, and they all ended up suffocating him with their plots. Later that day, Yuri was trying to enjoy the hot springs when Zola came in and asked if she had started liking Italy. She refused to accept her attempts at establishing a friendship, so Zola decided to get physical by grabbing her melons and refusing to let go. Moments later, Ariana interrupted them to serve milk and tripped, drenching her plot in the white substance Erica had told her to give them. Out on the ocean at the time, Erica was trying to work out with Godot, but he just wanted to have his freedom back. When she got close and promised to be gentle, he remembered how it all started with her forcing him to go on a trip to Italy. He then asked Zola for accommodation, and Yuri claimed she just wanted to chaperone. Once Erica took off the handcuffs to get started, he jumped into the water and swam for dear life. Moments later, he found himself staring at 3 plots in the hot springs and tried to run away. But then Yuri stopped him. He was on his knees shortly after, listening as she called him a cultured creep with no boundaries or sense of self-respect. She ended up shouting her towel off and gave his eyes more data than they could handle. Later that night, Liliana was somewhere in the city looking for Doni. Meanwhile, at Zola's place, everyone was asleep except Godot. After sneaking out, he took off running to escape them. But then suddenly, the atmosphere changed as Athena came out to see him. He told her to quit being so obsessed with him, so she had to remind him that she was still technically an enemy. The next moment, he was on a boat with her being led by the wind when they saw a pillar of magical energy being released in Naples. Minutes before that, Doni was in the tunnels under the city and eventually found a magic seal that he passed through before getting to the Hurrian. He was trying to access it when Liliana showed up and told him to stop. She explained that the energy levels of the seal had been unstable since the Gorgon incident, but he ignored her and started getting his sword out. She then told him the seal was too strong for an average sword, so he powered up and told her to pay close attention before he used a single swing to cut it in half. After the energy released into the atmosphere, Perseus saw it from a dormant volcano and got excited. Just then, a divine dragon appeared in the sky, and Athena told Godot that its presence had attracted Perseus. Liliana was watching the dragon fly until it suddenly got zapped and dropped. When she got there, she met Perseus, who then told her to stand back and drew his sword. She told him the dragon's existence was vital to the survival of the city, but he refused to listen, claiming his duties as an alpha were more important than civilian safety. After the dragon covered them both in its flames, she used a shield to protect herself, but Perseus had dodged the blast and started tearing up the dragon. He was about to land the final strike when a barrier protected the dragon, and he saw Athena. Godot had also shown up and told Liliana that Athena had abducted him. Athena forbade Perseus's actions against the dragon, so he had to remind her that she wasn't a Targaryen. After she absorbed the dragon and charged in with its life force, Perseus also got ready to fight, but then Godot stopped them. Perseus sensed his power, and Athena told him about her embarrassing loss to him. Perseus then turned to him and decided that he would be the one to warm up his sword, and Athena decided to give them space to manhandle each other. As soon as he pointed the sword at him, Liliana activated her powers and flew away with him, explaining that he needed to take some time to prepare before facing Perseus. After landing some miles away, she told him to follow her to a nearby bronze-black cross chapter, but he wanted to know why the gods were starting up another battle. She told him about Doni's daredevil behavior, which didn't surprise him, so they switched to devising a plan to defeat Perseus. He needed more information on him, so she offered to use her teaching magic, but then he told her about the Campione resistance to external magic. The moment he mentioned that it was something Erica always did, she got competitive and claimed she could do anything Erica could. When he explained the kiss, her adrenaline rush immediately faded, so she stopped talking. Just then, they saw a Pegasus in the sky, and its rider was Perseus, who was excited to have finally found them, and jumped down for the battle. Liliana immediately drew her sword to protect him, and wouldn't listen to his pleas for her to drop it. Since she didn't have the stomach to handle a kiss, she instead decided to charge straight for a god, and he easily stopped her with the tip of his sword. Godo then powered up and summoned the boar up from the ground. It raced into the air with 3 of them on its back until Godo picked Perseus up and sumo tossed him away. After the boar landed, Godo got it to chill out, but then Perseus returned with the Pegasus and used his aura to turn the boar to stone. They both jumped off, but then Perseus started shooting flaming arrows, so Godo activated the raptor's speed, but Perseus canceled the ability. The next moment, one of Perseus's arrows pierced his chest, and he fell. While Liliana stood over Godo's body, Perseus couldn't shake off a certain feeling, so he drew a second arrow to be sure. Just then, Athena sliced his back with her scythe. After telling him that Godo was hers to defeat, he asked if he would survive the arrow, and she told him he would get even stronger after waking up. So Perseus got on the Pegasus and promised to return after healing his wounds. Athena then told Liliana to deliver the message to Godo and left. Godo was in limbo again and met Pandora, who would explain that the ram's reviving ability he had used before getting hit required a complete death before it could take effect. She was explaining something important about Perseus when he started waking up and struggled to hear her, so she wished him luck. When he opened his eyes and saw Liliana, it was morning, and she said he was in the Bros chapter. After scolding him for not giving her a heads up before getting sent to the other side, she apologized for her rudeness and offered herself to him as an apology. While they were talking, Karen walked in and introduced herself as the apprentice mage, who helped tend to him when Liliana brought him in. She was also a friend to Ariana and told Liliana about the hot springs trip he had actually come for with the girls. Her explanation made it sound like he had nearly clapped the girls to death and made Liliana regret her decision to help him. Karen then told her that he was expecting the same treatment from her, and he tried to clear the misunderstanding. But then he saw Liliana unveiling her plot and started freaking out. Back in Rome, the girls were no longer enjoying the trip as everything in the city had apparently stopped working. Erica heard about his fight with Perseus, but with her phone dead, she couldn't reach him anymore and started brainstorming ideas to get to him with Yuri. Godo had also failed to reach them, and Liliana was deep in regret over what she did, so he explained that he felt better around her after seeing her true low IQ personality. She told him to focus on his battle with Perseus, so he started thinking about how Perseus had canceled out his abilities. When he said Erica was the only one who could help him out, Karen told him to give her some space with Liliana and pushed him to the balcony. She then told Liliana to steal Godo's heart so that Erica's copper-black cross would lose the upper hand. Karen's plans for her to steal his heart sounded like a lot for her, so she claimed Liliana was destined to be with him. Liliana suddenly drifted off into a romance fantasy world with him, and it all started to make sense. On the balcony, Godo was taking in the view when he saw a diary and started reading someone's dream love story. The next moment, he felt a blade on his back before hearing Liliana say that it was time for him to meet his maker since he had uncovered her darkest secrets. He tried to talk her out of it, but she was past the point of reasoning and turned him over. Before she could finish him off, Athena appeared and said she wanted to talk. On the beach moments later, he asked her about Perseus' ability to cancel his abilities, and she didn't want to spill, so he reminded her that his loss meant she couldn't have the rematch she wanted. She agreed to tell him on the condition that he did something for her, and he was about to accept it when Liliana stepped in and rejected the offer, so Athena told him to find her when he was ready. Shortly after, he was with Liliana asking why she interfered, and she blew up in his face, shouting about how irresponsible it was to accept random proposals from gods like Athena. Immediately, he thanked her, and she lost her anger and fell to the ground. When he picked her up, she started crying about her tendency to embarrass herself and got the locals looking at him like he was toxic, so he grabbed her and left. Shortly after, he got her ice cream and told her not to worry about her lack of brain cells, as he barely had any left and liked having her advise him. She then gave him a couple more tips for the future before reminding him that they needed to get ready for Perseus. Back at the chapter, Karen wished them luck before giving them space to continue their research. While Godo was actually researching, Liliana was knee-deep in her 20th century romance fantasy world. She tried to snap herself out of it, but the fantasies kept getting weirdly specific, and Godo thought she was just stressed out, so he promised to win against Perseus. His aura ended up being too much for her, so she left to catch her breath. The next moment, she brought him tea, and the moment he drank it, his body started going numb. She told him the poison was to reduce the effects of his aura and promised to get the information on Perseus before leaving. She met up with Athena on the beach shortly after and managed to convince her to spill the tea on Perseus. After telling her about his power, Athena froze her in place and started opening her uniform. She had just started squeezing her melons when Godslayer showed up and threatened to beat her up again. Athena then gave them one last piece of the puzzle, and Liliana's last remaining brain cells managed to understand something. Godslayer was about to pass out, but Athena held him up and told him to remember their agreement before handing him to Liliana and leaving. At Zola's place that night, Yuri watched as Doni tied up the rest of the girls to stop them from helping Godslayer, so he could handle his battle alone. He also told them he was behind the entire city being forced to go off the grid and went on to tie up Yuri. By then, Godslayer had woken up and was talking to Liliana when an arrow struck beside him and transformed into a tablet Perseus used to invite him to the location for their showdown. Later that night, Perseus was at an arena, shouting at the spectators and getting them hyped up before drawing his sword and challenging Godslayer. After activating the bull's incarnation, Godslayer ripped out one of the pillars and charged in for the duel while Liliana prayed for his success. Earlier on, Godslayer got back to the chapter to discuss the message from Perseus. Karen then told Liliana to give him all the information she had on Perseus to her kiss, but Liliana wasn't ready to take that next step. Karen brought out all the books on Perseus to show that there was no time to study, but Liliana said she wanted to save her first kiss for someone who wasn't addicted to clapping everything in sight. Tired of her ranting, Godslayer walked out, claiming he wanted to use the bathroom. Karen used the opportunity to tell Liliana that she had to step up her game if she was ever going to steal him from Erica. But then she suddenly noticed that Godslayer was taking a lot of time in the bathroom. He got off a bus moments later after making a run for it. But Liliana had already caught up to him, so they went back to discuss his lack of testosterone. She wanted to know why he didn't just use his powers to command the kiss from her, so he explained that he wanted to give her time to heal after being Voban's clap toy for so long. He had just gotten up to leave when an arrow nearly took out his toes, and Perseus told him to stop trying to escape fate. Back at the arena, Perseus easily sliced the pillar in half, so Godslayer started throwing concrete slabs, but they made no difference. After telling him to step up his game, Perseus said a prayer to activate his powers as the sun god, and they immediately cancelled Godsleyer's powers. He then shot him with an arrow infused with his magic that blasted Godslayer into a nearby building, while Athena's owls watched. His arm saved him from another shot to the chest, and Liliana showed up to help him out. After telling her that he needed to face his destiny by continuing the fight, Liliana called him back and finally let him have her first kiss. She decided to join his harem and told him to continue with the oral lessons so he could finally take down Perseus, and he wasted no time sucking out as much knowledge as he could. At first, she wasn't releasing the expected magical energy, so he gave her a few tongue-twisting pointers and eased her into the process until she lit up. By then, Perseus was already claiming his victory, but because Godslayer had a tendency to play Lazarus, he decided to blow him up with one more arrow. Just then, the arena transformed into Godo's golden space. With Liliana in his arms, Godslayer started the second round by attacking him with flying swords that he easily destroyed. Perseus then reminded him of the power of his light, but Godslayer came prepared and used the swords to create a barrier that Perseus' arrows could not penetrate. Godslayer told him the origins of his name and power while attacking him with swords, and Perseus commended his efforts, but then he started loading up an arrow with most of his magic. Godslayer did the same by calling back the swords to merge them until they formed a titan's sword he used to counter Perseus' arrow. He cut through the arrow and also broke Perseus' bow, so he decided to switch to regular tactics and charged in with a sword before dropping Godslayer and stabbing him in the shoulder. Godslayer grabbed the sword and used the camel incarnation to kick Perseus into a building before explaining its abilities to Liliana. After dropping back down, Perseus told Liliana to ditch Godslayer for his divine sausage, and she responded by threatening him, so he used a special skill to turn off her brain. He then explained that he could turn maidens like her into mindless puppets that obeyed his every wish and made her turn her blade on Godslayer. He dodged her slashes and started trying to talk her out of divine mind control, but she kept going until he got a new scar on his face. As Perseus explained that his attempts to save her would be futile, she kept cutting him until he had enough and dodged. She started saying a prayer that transformed her sword into a bow, and as she drew the arrows, he kept yelling at her to snap out of it. After she fired, one of them hit Perseus in the shoulder and Godo ran over to see if she was back in control. Perseus complimented the power of their love that was apparently strong enough to defeat god-level mind control, but he still had energy, so Godo charged in to continue the fight. While they fought, Liliana said another prayer to create more magic arrows and waited until Godao escaped, becoming a human kebab and gave her the signal. Perseus easily dodged all the arrows, but the last one was a boomerang arrow that came back around and pinned him to a pillar. Before he could pull it out, Godo kicked it in to hold him in place and took a step back to summon the boar. He carried the titan like it was a paperweight and hurled it straight into Perseus before passing out from the excessive use of his magic. Liliana got to him, and after a lot of second-guessing, she decided to kiss him back to consciousness, but then Athena showed up to congratulate him on the win. She then decided to use her divine lips to heal him, and went in for a second one that made Liliana's tear glands erupt. After telling her to make up her mind sooner, Athena promised to return and left. Perseus was in an alley at the time about to leave and heal his wounded pride, when someone eerily similar to Athena appeared and removed his arm like it was butter before transforming and swallowing him whole. Doni showed up momentarily and got bummed out for missing the action. The next day, Liliana was beside Godu, about to make some food when Erica showed up with Yuri and tried to skewer him into the wall. Liliana told them to know their place as she was his latest concubine, but Godu was concerned about how they already knew until he saw Karen with Ariana. He tried to explain that Liliana was merely his female bodyguard, but when Erica asked if they had clapped, Liliana's reaction was a good enough answer, so Erica lit up the room. At Yuri's shrine after summer break, she was explaining her failure to clap Godo to Ina, a baddie sent to also join Godo's harem. To make things easier for Yuri and claim the top spot from Erica, Anna suggested joining forces to win Godo's heart and told Yuri the plan. At school later on, Liliana was feeding Godo while Shizuka was struggling to keep count of the girls. When she asked the others about it, Erica told her about Liliana's first day back, where she also publicly professed her love for him and used mind control to take the seat behind him. She had been showing up at their house every morning since then, and Shizuka had gotten fed up with her obsession over him. While she was scolding them, Erica told Yuri to take lessons, so she watched as Liliana selflessly served him like the proud concubine she was. After classes that day, he found an invitation note to the tea room, and Liliana decided to tag along. When they got there, he saw Yuri and Nina, who greeted him obediently while introducing herself as his new. After telling him about the plan for him to marry her and Yuri, he sat down for a cup of tea before asking her what made her fit to join the harem. She didn't expect him to be classy enough to have choices, and started listing all his girls so far until he claimed they were just friends. After a brief and extremely awkward moment of silence, Anna asked if Yuri felt the same way, and she tried acting like she was okay with it. So Anna told her to take a second to really think about her choice of words. She was about to confess her true feelings when Liliana interrupted to tell Anna to stop messing around and get to the point. Anna told Liliana that being the second-ranked member of the harem didn't make her chances with him better, as her excessive simping made her place in the friend zone difficult to break out of. Just then, Erica showed up and wanted to know what they were talking about. Anna said she was actually looking forward to speaking with her, so Erica told her to step outside for the chat, and she grabbed her weapon before heading out. Much later, Godo was with Liliana and Yuri at the gate and was starting to lose his patience, but then Erica showed up, so he checked with her to be sure she didn't unalive Ina. After assuring him of Ina's safety, he asked if they wanted to grab some food, but Yuri claimed she had work at the shrine, and Liliana simply didn't want to go with him. After Erica also turned him down, Shizuka showed up and asked about Ina, which surprised him. Erica then left him behind to deal with Shizuka, who was tired of his attempts to clap the entire female species. That night, Athena cooked up a storm while fighting with her dark doppelganger that unalived Perseus. At the pool the next day, Liliana saw Yuri, but the awkward space Godal had created stopped them from talking to each other, and Erica had started to notice it. During lunch, Godo was eating with Shizuka and was trying to grab an egg roll when Erica snagged it first and said she wanted to ask Godo out. Shizuka immediately packed up and wished them luck before storming out. Godo then asked her what she really wanted, and she said the date thing was legit, but she also wanted to know what was going on with Yuri and Liliana. Later that day, she gave Liliana a call and told her about her date plans with Godo. Erica wanted her to resist the urge to stalk him for one day, and told her to focus on the cultured content she was writing on the new manuscript. She then gave Yuri a call before heading over to collect Godo from a still pissed-off Shizuka. Moments later, she asked where he planned to take her, but he was still unsure and almost got his throat crushed as she got pissed and grabbed his collar. The next moment, he was outside a dressing room at the mall apologizing while she changed and told him to figure something out. When she tried showing him her latest Victoria's Secret set, he refused to look, so she started teasing him and almost got the other shoppers to call security on him. They ended up trying out different food spots and stopped at a park for ice cream. For the next spot, she wanted to go somewhere different, so he started brainstorming ideas. After seeing a construction company working on one of the landmarks he recently destroyed, she came up with the perfect idea. Later on, Liliana was pacing back and forth at Yuri's shrine while she was cleaning and wanted to know how she was calm, while Erika was probably getting her guts rearranged. Yuri didn't believe it could get that far, so Yuri reminded her of who Erika was, and Yuri had to remind her that they were still considered friends, which gave them no hope. She then remembered her time phone shopping with him and tried convincing herself that the friend zone wasn't so bad. Back on the date, they were at the waterlogged crater he had created when he took down Athena, and Erika used it to remind him that the girls he considered just friends had always been at his side. After apologizing for being clueless, he asked her why she seemed to be indifferent to his lack of brain cells, and she said she had accepted his slow thinking since the first time they met. They were about to head out when the rain clouds suddenly covered the entire city, and Ina showed up asking for Erika. She reminded Erika of the duel they had agreed on, so Erika immediately switched outfits and told Godo not to interfere. When Ina pulled out her weirdly powerful dark sword, Yuri sensed it from the shrine and immediately ran out with Liliana chasing after her. The girls had already started fighting by then, and Erika was intrigued by the sword, which Ina claimed was made by her grandfather. Godo wanted to know what the fight was about, so Erika told him Ina wanted to eliminate her and Ina told him he should only have Japanese girls in his harem. After a couple more attacks, Erika stepped back to compliment Ina's sword skill and noticed the chips on her sword, so she removed them and used her magic to infuse the sword with lightning. Before their swords could clash again, Godo got in between them and barely escaped getting sent to heaven. After saying he didn't want them to get hurt, Ina's face turned red, but then she started getting heated and said he had only made her more excited to take Erika down. Once she had fully activated her magic, she charged in for the attack, but Godo grabbed the sword and canceled out her magic. The next moment, a portal opened up under him and he got sucked in. Erika immediately attacked Ina and demanded to know what happened, so Ina said he had been taken to the astral realm by her grandfather. She started charging up again and told her about the origins of her sword and her grandfather, who was once a hero. Instead of continuing the fight, Erika jumped into the portal and Ina followed her. Shizuka was at home at the time, watching the weather forecast while waiting for Godo, when someone suddenly crashed through the roof. After sitting up, Athena apologized for the intrusion and asked for Godo. While strolling through the astral realm, Godo started feeling sick and was thinking about the girls when he saw a cabin and heard someone call him in. Inside, he met Susanoo, an educated caveman who said he was the grandfather Ina had been talking about. Meanwhile, Shizuka had stayed up all night waiting for him and saw Athena sniffing his pillow. After asking about her relationship with Godo and hearing about some of their cultured activities, she was horrified by the realization that her brother was an unhinged PDF. Elsewhere in the astral plane, Erika was burning through her lungs after using all her mana, while Ina was chilling and said it was likely her grandfather boosting her strength. She said the sword was strengthening her with its divine magic, and demonstrated by blasting Erika with a rock wall. Erika still had some bark left and charged up, promising to defeat her so she could get to Godo, and Ina wanted all the smoke. At the cabin, Susanoo told Godo he had retired to the astral world to escape the stress of the regular world and asked if he knew about it. As his brain began to short-circuit, Susanoo said Pandora, who was in charge of overseeing activities in the realm, had probably botched his transportation, which was why he didn't remember her. Susanoo was telling Godo about a few of his exploits back in the day when he started remembering every detail of Susanoo's life story. The golden sword suddenly appeared, and he got confused, so Susanoo explained that the astral realm was basically a library stacked with memories of the lives of its inhabitants. Godo was reacting to the memories flooding into his subconscious, and Susanoo challenged him to a duel, but then he decided to have it on a separate occasion. Godo asked him about the girls, so he opened the pot and showed him Erica about to get clapped. When he mentioned something about Ina's sword putting them both in danger, Godo demanded to be taken to them, and Susanoo told him he could do it himself by picturing them, but he needed something from him first. Erica was still dodging Ina's attacks at the time and took a second to breathe, so Ina asked if she was ready to throw in the towel. She described what life had been like since she met Godo, and told her she wasn't planning on giving up, but her story only made Ina want him more, so she decided to use her trump card. She sacrificed herself to the god and her sword, and it took over her entire body. Right as she was about to end Erica, Liliana got to the place the portal appeared with Yuri, who then used her spirit vision to find them and told Liliana where they were. Liliana knew of a way to get them back, but they needed a certain potion. Amaterasu showed up to assist them and almost got attacked by Liliana, so he explained that he had nothing to do with it. He then told them something was happening to their world as enormous portals were appearing over cities across the globe. Back in the astral realm, Godao saved Erica from Ina and told her to rest up before checking to see if Ina was still in control. The god in the weapon introduced himself as Murakumo and attacked him, so Godo created the golden space and started attacking him with the swords while revealing his origins as Susanoo's weapon. The attacks weakened his hold on Ina's body, so she opened another portal and left. Godo tried to stop him, but then he saw Erica passed out and went to help her. Moments later, she woke up, and he decided to take her to Susanoo with the mental teleportation, but he missed the target. She told him to increase his focus, so he tried again and kept transporting to different dimensions until Erica's condition started to deteriorate. Back at the house, Shizuka listened to Athena explain her relationship to Godo and started to freak out. They were watching the news explain the sudden global darkness when she realized that Athena had left. By then, Godo had managed to reach a beach with regular air, but Erica's condition wasn't getting better, and she started asking for one last kiss. He tried getting her to be optimistic, but she told him the poisoning from the astral realm's air was too much for her to heal from. With tears in her eyes, she reminded him of their time together since she first confessed to him, and he struggled to believe that she could love someone like him. After explaining her love for him, he decided to give her the kiss she asked for. He pushed her to the ground, but instead of continuing their session, he started getting pissed and demanded to know who was responsible for making her suffer. The next moment, he heard a god asking if he was ready to challenge all of divination, and he accepted. After Verethragna offered him the final form of his power, he absorbed it and asked if Erica would stick with him against all the gods. She promised to remain by his side, so he told her to get ready to take his magic, and began the most intense kiss-induced magic exchange they had ever done. After spreading her to make the transfer faster and cutting her lip, she got to the final point of the magic exchange and told him she already felt better. At Yuri's shrine that night, she discussed the plan to save Godo and the girls from the astral realm. But when they started, they felt dark magic just close to the entrance and became terrified. At the time, Godo was enjoying the beach with Erica, but then a portal opened and Murakumo came out after using Ena to enter his final form. Erica pulled out her sword for their second round and dodged the first attack before using a magic-imbued slash to send him crashing down. Godo went to help Ina, but she told him to forget her, as he was too powerful for a brain-rot baddie like her. After Erica defended him from Murakumo, he got to Ina and pulled her out before Murakumo tossed them off his head. The next moment, he saw her plot on his glizzy and jumped back to hide his brick while apologizing. She then got dressed and thanked him with a kiss that Erica had seen, but too more focused on surviving another attack from Murakumo. After getting up, they heard a loud bang and watched as something cracked through the human realm and brought them all back. Just then, they watched as Murakumo got absorbed by Athena, who looked like she had finally gone full psycho. When they saw the regular sweet Athena, Godo realized that the raging psycho was Metis. Liliana recognized the name and asked if he was talking about the wife of Zeus. Godo then told them he had heard about her from Susanoo, who explained that Metis, like Athena, was a snake goddess who gained power by spreading darkness and chaos. Hearing that, Yuri said Metis's presence in the darkness that was slowly covering the entire planet was the prophecy of the starless night being fulfilled. Somewhere in the city, Amaterasu was trying to find the Gorgon stone and floored the gas pedal to get there in time. Meanwhile, Metis had started blowing up the shrine with her powers. After turning Murakumo into her scythe, she charged straight for Godo, and he pushed Athena out of the way and started trying to understand how she could easily use Ena's sword. Yuri used her spirit vision to reveal that practically all the divine weapons used by gods had ties to serpents, and Murakumo was actually drawn from the corpse of a serpent Hydra Susano had taken down. With the crash course complete, Erica told him to escape with Athena to stop Metis from absorbing her to reach her final form. Godo wanted to stay and fight, so she reminded him that he needed to regain his strength before summoning the incarnations, and the girls also joined in to convince him. Just then, Oriana drifted in with Amaterasu, so he got in the car with Athena and wanted to take Yuri, but she refused to leave with him. After they left, Erica told her that playing Wonder Woman wouldn't get her out of the friend zone, and she calmly clapped back with a promise to become Godo's one true love, or at least one of them. After Erica activated the love magic Godo poured into her, Metis's magic began to burst out of the rubble, and while the others dodged as she blasted out, Erica took the first hit like a G. By then, Godo was in the car, trying to make sense of everything, and Amaterasu told him they were heading to Mount Fuji. There was a shrine at the mountain that he said would have enough resources to hide their presence from Metis. Athena's new voice started to creep out Godo, so he told her to speak normally, but Amaterasu said she was missing something. She had apparently lost a part of herself to the Gorgon Stone, and that part became Metis, who then fought her in the clouds and took away her powers and memories, leaving her with a rock's IQ level. Back at the shrine, Erica was using Godo's power to push back Metis with her attacks, which left the girls shocked. When one of Metis' attacks pushed her back, Liliana joined in to support her, while Yuri and Ina began saying a prayer to activate binding magic that held Metis in place. Erica and Liliana then combined their powers to generate a magic pack slice that blew up Metis. Much later at the shrine on Mount Fuji, Godo checked his power levels and saw that his magic was back. Athena then asked him about gods, and while he was explaining his ideas to her, Metis had just finished smoking the girls and sensed their magic, as the mountain had only made them more visible. He was talking about how gods were powerful teddy bears when Metis dropped out of the sky and used her scythe to burn up the entire place. She was shocked to see him still on his feet and gave him a chance to give up, but then he offered to stop the fight if she went back to Athena. She wanted to remain in control, so he decided to keep fighting, and as she charged in, he summoned the bull's strength and tried blocking it with a boulder, but she easily shattered it. He then activated his speed, but his heart went into overdrive too soon and got him pushed down. As she charged in again, he summoned the camel's leg strength and kicked her, but that only left him open to a brutal slice from her scythe. Athena tried to save him and got one of her ribs cut out, so she grabbed the scythe and gave him a chance to escape. Godo then said a prayer to summon the shining stallion and made it incinerate her, but she still barely had a bruise on her and finally got her hands on Athena. He was too far to stop her from using a kiss to absorb Athena and watched as she started unleashing her powers as she activated her final form. After nearly blowing up the entire mountain, she got ready to finish him off, but with his loss being clear as day, Godo still refused to give up. Just then, Yuri showed up and used a kiss to heal him up with her magic, and the rest of the girls came out like a high school musical scene. Hearing their plan to defeat her, Metis mocked them, so Godo told her to watch as he kissed magic out of Ina and activated the golden space. After aggressively summoning the wind abilities hidden in the Murakumo, the scythe escaped her grip and returned to its original form in Ina's hand. Godo tried to bathe Metis in golden swords, but then she activated several layers of barriers that defended her. She clapped back with a phantom serpent, but the girls protected him from the attack and told him they needed to restructure the sword. Using Liliana's kiss to complete the divine history lesson, the swords changed form and began breaking through Metis's barriers. Godo used a prayer to break down the truth of her powers while her last barrier struggled to hold together until he used a plus 1000 aura slice to destroy it. Erica then offered him her love and used the power of her kiss to restructure the swords again. After the attack blew her up, Metis got separated from Athena, so the girls combined their powers to give Godo enough magic to summon the boar. Metis used her powers to push back the boar until it became pixie dust, and she dove straight for Athena. Godo ran to stop her, but then Athena woke up and had her memories back. With an unexpected kiss, she combined their powers and began drawing all the swords together to form a giant scythe. Athena pulled out her scythe and charged in, but in the end, they were too powerful and sliced right through her, causing an explosion that returned the world to normal. After absorbing what was left of Metis, Athena promised to see Godo again and left. The next moment, his breath ran out, and he spent the rest of the day sleeping on Erica. A month later, he was at home eating with the girls until their love made Chizuka go nuts. Will Goto take a break from stacking up powerful in his harem, or is he still just warming up? That is it for this video. Leave a thumbs up if you liked it and subscribe to the channel for similar content. And as always, thanks for watching.